What's up, guys? It's your girl, Sam. Welcome back to another episode of Elite Life with Sam, the Golden Nugget edition. Now, listen, today is going to be just a little bit different because we're kind of meshing and asking for a friend in with the Golden Nugget. I do a lot of Get Ready With Me lives over on TikTok where you ladies just come and hang out with me. We listen to music, we drink our coffee, we get ready for the day. And I opened up for you guys to submit questions that I could cover today. And honestly, they were so good. And it brought me back to places in my life that I had not thought about in a little while. So hopefully today I can give you guys some new perspective, and if nothing else, I can just encourage you with everything that you're going through. So one of the first questions was, how do you navigate the ups and downs of life when it starts to feel like a cycle? Oh my gosh, this is so true. You tend to get to a point where in life you're like, well, here we go again, where it feels like it's just another day. Here's what I'll say. This is kind of multifaceted because I think that regardless of what your belief system is, whether you believe in God or a higher power or a spiritual realm or whatever it is, I think that it all comes back to that we were put on this earth to learn things and to teach each other things and to learn to be a community. And so I think that you're going to continue to go through things in your life until you learn the lesson. So I tend to try to pause while I'm going through what I call them tests in life, because it's all up. And I think, first of all, changing your mindset that everything that you go through is for your highest and best. And that is a mantra that I repeat over and over and over. And it truly has changed my life and changed the way that I look at every situation that I'm brought into. And so when Rich and I come up to a test or a trial, first and foremost, it's what can I learn from this? Even when learning doesn't feel good, your nervous system is dysregulated and you are tempted to panic or fall into a depression or even just like a down, sad mood. First, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me a better business owner, wife, mother, friend, sister, whatever the situation is? What can this teach me? And second is, no matter what happens, it's going to work out for my highest and best. Because even if you go through something and it strips something away from you, that thing was not meant to be in your life any longer. So, I think that when you change your perspective on the situation, it changes the outcome. And literally, it's impossible for me to lose. It's impossible for me to be stripped of anything that wasn't meant for me to succeed. And so I think we're very tempted to look at things in life like a loss, but what if it was for protection? I'm sure you guys have all heard, the mantra or mindset of when you're running late, that's your angels protecting you from a potential car accident or whatever the case may be. But what if it goes deeper than that? What if you're being taught patience and understanding and grace for yourself, and that being late to work or an event or a meeting or church or whatever, in the grand scheme of things, really isn't that big of a deal. And I think the second thing is that with the ups and downs, I know for me, I can't project this onto anyone else, but if this sounds like you, then this is for you. I have a tendency to minimize my wins, and it's hard for me to celebrate successes because I think I was just predispositioned to that in life as a child, that I had very pessimistic parents, I had very negative parents, and so it was never taught to me, it was never emulated to celebrate wins. It was just, well, don't enjoy it because it's going to go away or the next shitty thing is going to happen. And so I brought that into my adulthood, and I've had to retrain my subconscious to, one, understand that I deserve to be successful. I deserve to win. I deserve to be happy and joyful. And two, I deserve to celebrate when I accomplish things, even if it's the smallest things. Like, I went in and deep cleaned my office this morning and switched it around a little bit, and switched some things at the front of the business around a little bit this morning. And there was a part of me that, was like a little kid, and I wanted to go grab Rich and go, come in here and look at my office, babe. And then immediately there was a gut check that was like, don't go get him. Don't interrupt him. He's working. This is stupid. And I was like, wait just a second. Hold on. I think my office is really cute, And so that's exactly what I did. I went and grabbed him and was like, hey, babe, look at my office. It's so cute. And, of course, he accommodated and he praised me and told me how great and wonderful and cute it was. But there is no reason for us not to celebrate even the smallest of wins like they're major wins. That's literally rewiring our brain to find the high points in life in every single day, to celebrate, to find the joy in the small things. And I've seen trends online that are like romanticizing your life. Yes, romanticize your life. You are the greatest thing to ever step foot on this earth. You are that girl. Like, take a page out of Lizzo's book, right? Have that type of celebration and confidence and joy in life each and every day. So, and then moving on to the next question, I thought this one was really thoughtful, because, we're all in different places in our lives. I'm, a middle-aged 30-something-year-old mom with teens for the first time. And, I have friends that have toddlers for the first time. I have friends that have toddlers and adult children. I have, nephews that are my age. And so we're all in different eras, in different seasons in life, but I think we can all still have something to add to the conversation. And this mom asked, how do I navigate having an 18-year-old daughter who's going the exact opposite way of the way that we raised her? And granted, I don't have 18-year-old children. Mine are still in their teens and preteens. However, I remember being that 18-year-old girl who conformed. And at 18, I wanted so badly to get out of my dad's house, and we had such a rocky, strained relationship. And I don't agree with all of his parenting tactics, and I do think a lot of them were detrimental to both of us. And I just remember I was trained to not disappoint. I was trained to please everyone around me. And so my escape plan was to get married to someone that he approved of before my frontal lobe was fully developed. I met him at 19. We were married at 20. I was pregnant and had my child at 21. Had my oldest son, and 5 years later had our second son. And by the time that I feel like I had experienced enough life and had truly figured out what I wanted out of life, and I was fully developed mentally, there was so much more trauma added into my bucket and so much more dysregulation that I had to heal from and work through to become the best version of myself. And so I would say this: it's okay. Let them experience some life. Give them a lot of grace. Give them a lot of understanding, because that was us at one point in time. Figuring out, looking like a baby deer walking for the first time. We were stumbling through life, figuring out how to, have the responsibilities of an adult while still having the mind of a child. And I think that that's not maybe discussed enough that they literally have to raise their hand in class to go to the bathroom. And then all of a sudden one day they walk across a stage in a cap and gown and get this little piece of paper, and they're thrust out into the world and told, okay, you're an adult, do it right, and do it right the first time. How insane does that sound? This society is not setting our adolescents up for success in any way, shape, or form. And so you can disagree with me all day. I'm sure I'll catch a lot of hate for this statement, but I wholeheartedly disagree with the traditional way of parenting children, which is why I'm not doing that. I think that it depends on the child and their level of maturity and what they can handle at what age. But to think seriously that a child is going to turn 18 and magically have it all figured out and be capable of carrying grown-up responsibilities and make grown-up decisions. Guys, I know people in their 30s that still aren't getting it right. I know people in their 50s that still aren't getting it right. And so I think that if you would just have a lot of grace and understanding and give them a safe space to fall back on. And I'm not saying that you have to excuse every mistake that they make or everything that they do, but also understand that they're experiencing this part of life for the first time in a society that we can't fathom. We grew up in a time before social media. We watched the internet be birthed. We watched the evolution of social media. We watched the evolution of, our economy's ups and downs. And, I can't even comprehend what it will be like for my teenage children in another 5 years, trying to navigate financial stability and buying a home and careers and investments. And it was hard enough when I was in my late teens and early 20s. How much more is it going to be difficult for them? And so do a lot of listening. Give them a safe space to talk, and be okay with giving them tough life lessons and them not listening to you, because our lessons are coming from a different place than where they're at. And they're facing things that we never thought about facing before. And so just do a lot of listening, a lot of understanding, and don't take it personally when they try things out for themselves and they fall flat on their face. I promise you that there will come a time when they come back to you and say, I am so sorry. You're right. I should have listened to you. You had it figured out a lot more than I did. And then the last question that I think I'll cover on this is, how do you navigate finding yourself after a divorce? So, like I said, I got married in my early 20s. I was 20 when I got married, and I didn't know who I was really. All I knew of myself is what I was expected to be. And it took me a long time to find my voice and to be okay with being the bad guy. And so for me, and I can only speak from my experience, is one, you have to become okay with being the villain in someone else's story. You're not always going to be the hero. You're not always going to be the Disney princess. You're not always going to be the favorite. And that's okay, because everybody's going to see you through a different lens. What needs to be first priority for you through all of this is being okay with who you are, finding out who you are and finding out on purpose, figuring out your likes, your dislikes, your boundaries. There's going to be a lot of stumbling through this, potentially. There's going to be a lot of first times, never want to do it again, or, hey, I loved that experience. I figured out that I loved to go listen to live music and be around people, but not socialize, if that makes sense. I love to be out in society and people watch, but I don't necessarily love to socialize and be, a social butterfly and talk to everyone. Um, I love to travel and explore trails and hikes and waterfalls, and I love to try new restaurants, and I love to take the doors off of my Jeep and just blare music for hours. And that's okay. I figured out I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert, however you want to say that. I like to be out and about, but not involved, if that makes sense. Um, I had to figure out my personal boundaries and be okay with them. We are so bombarded with in this culture between social media influencers, celebrities, and insane branding and marketing techniques. We are constantly told who to be, what to look like, how to act, what to wear, what to like. The trends are never ending. I mean, it's a miracle that we have any sanity as women at all. Be wholesome, but not so wholesome. You gotta be, a vixen, be sexy, oh my gosh, it's just never ending. And so, first of all, figure out who you are and what you like. I promise you, your tribe is out there. The people who are for you and like you are out there. And to find those people, to attract those people, you have to become a beacon. And by doing that, it's just being so authentically yourself that it literally shines from the inside out. And then being okay with trying new things and not liking them, putting yourself in situations where you might be a little bit uncomfortable, and figuring out that's not for me. I'll also say that therapy is such a beautiful thing. I know that if you've never tried therapy before, it can be big scary. I hope that you don't wait until you were like me, where therapy was your last option before giving up, where you're literally laying on the bottom of the barrel and you've created an indent in the bottom. I was lower than low. I truly don't think that if I had waited another week that my life would have turned out how it is. And it is uncomfortable to talk about things that you've never talked about before. And it is hard to put in the work, but I promise you it's worth it. And I'll say this, therapy is not at all like what I expected it to be like. I think that we do ourselves a disservice by allowing our imagination to run away with you, where you try to plan out everything before it happens. If I say this, then they're going to say this, and then this is how I'm going to respond. And so you've lived this whole situation before it's even happened, and so you just decide that's not for you. Well, that's not very fair. You're not giving it a fighting chance, and it's not going to be that way at all. I'll give you an example, a little inside look at a situation that happened with my therapist and I. So I had gone no contact with my father for a little over a year, and this was before he passed away. And I was on the phone or on a call with my therapist, and I said, I'm starting to think that maybe I want to reach out to my dad. And she goes, okay, let's talk through that. What makes you want to reach out to him? And I was like, well, it's coming up on his birthday this fall, and we have the holidays coming, and I just don't think that it's very fair for me to not give him an explanation as to why I went no contact and to not give him a chance to talk it out. And she was like, well, fair to who? And I go, fair to him. And she goes, do you feel like you're ready? And I said, no, I'm still really angry. And she was like, okay, so if you approach this conversation in anger, how do you think that's going to go? Do you think he's ready to receive that? And I was like, no, I know he's not. And so she goes, okay, so you're still worried about being fair to him when the whole reason you're in therapy is because what he did to you was unfair to you. And I was like, how crazy, just to change the perspective of a thought to it's okay to be a little selfish of if I'm not ready and I'm not healed and I'm not in a place where I feel like we can move forward in a constructive way. I'm just trying to be fair to him. And again, I'm giving that power away to someone else. And it was so healing to hear those words. Fair to who? And so if that's you right now, I'm here to tell you it's okay to think about yourself. It's okay to be fair to you. And again, it's okay to be the bad guy in somebody else's story. Because at the end of the day, you lay your head down on the pillow and you have to sleep with yourself. And you have to ask yourself, you know, have you put in the hard work to heal yourself, to be the best version of yourself? Not just for you, but potentially if you have kids or the people that are surrounding you or your future self. And so it's okay. It's okay. But I would say absolutely try therapy. Even if you don't feel like you need it necessarily, just try it once, because there could be things that you're dealing with that you thought were just normal and that you've been carrying around like a backpack full of boulders that you didn't realize it's okay to put down, that that's not your responsibility to carry. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for submitting your questions and interacting on all of the platforms. We're on Instagram, TikTok. Our membership site is growing. That's elitelifewithsam.com. We have 2 tiers. One is the Broke Bestie, which gets you a profile and gets you into the community chat, which is so beautiful. And then we have the High Class Hooligans, where you get the weekly vlogs, behind the scenes, looks at things. You get the early releases of the podcast and so much more. We have merch coming. We have discussions with podcast guests. We have just so many things going on over there. And I'm so blessed to be able to be part of this community and build this amazing tribe of women who are so beautifully there for one another. I've never seen anything else quite like it. So thanks for tuning in today, guys. Look us up and leave us a 5-star review anywhere that you can. Until next time, love you guys.